10 engineering professors board a plane. Once they are inside and the plane is about to take off, the air hostess comes out and tells everyone that the plane has been made by the students of those teachers. Immediately, 9 of the professors get up and run away from the plane while one of them stays seated, calmly reading a book. One of the students who was on the plane to see how their plane worked approached the professor, thanking him for trusting them. To which he replies, "If my students really made this plane, I'm 100% confident this won't even take off." A 55-year-old lady suddenly started learning to swim instead of her usual routine of going to a temple. Everyone was curious and asked her, "Why the change in your interest to swimming nowadays?" The lady, with a look of helplessness, replied, "Whenever my son and daughter-in-law quarrel with each other, my daughter-in-law always asks my son, 'If your mom and I fall into water, whom will you save first?' And because I do not want to put my son in a difficult position, I am learning to swim." A few days later, husband and wife were quarreling again, and the daughter-in-law unreasonably asked, "Now tell me, if your mom and I fall into water, whom will you save first?" The husband replied, "I don't have to get into the water. My mom knows to swim. She will save you." The wife refused to relent. "No, you have to jump into the water and have to save one of us." "Whom will you save?" Husband replied, "Then you will surely die, because I don't know how to swim, and my mom will definitely save me first." An engineering student found a frog on his way to class. "If you kiss me, I'll turn into a beautiful princess," the frog said. The student smiled, thought for a minute, and put the frog in his bag and kept walking. After a few minutes, he heard the frog calling out again, so he took it out. "If you kiss me, I'll turn into a beautiful princess and go out on a date with you." The student smiled, put it back in his bag, and kept walking. After a few minutes, he heard the frog calling out again, so he took it out. "If you kiss me, I'll turn into a princess and go out on multiple dates with you and introduce you to my parents. Who knows what will happen after that?" He smiled and started to put it back in his bag. "Wait, why won't you kiss me?" "Well, I'm incredibly busy with school right now, so I don't have time for a girlfriend. However, a talking frog is really cool." A woman sees a funeral procession. The hearse is driving slowly, followed by a dog, and then behind the dog is a woman dressed in black, and then a line of several dozen women. The woman watches silently as the procession goes on and on. Finally, she asks the last woman in line, "Who is it that passed?" "Well," the woman says, "I really didn't know him, but do you see that dog? It belongs to the widow, the woman in black. Apparently her late husband was having an affair, and the dog smelled another woman's scent on him and mauled him to death." The woman thought for a second, then said, "Any chance the widow will lend me her dog? I suppose just get in line with the rest of us." 3 inmates were on the way to prison. They were each allowed to take one item with them to help them occupy their time while incarcerated. On the bus, one turned to another and said, "So, what did you bring?" The first convict pulled out a box of paints and stated that he intended to paint anything he could. He wanted to become the Grandma Moses of jail. Then he asked the second, "What did you bring?" The second convict pulled out a deck of cards and grinned and said, "I brought cards. I can play poker, solitaire, gin, and any number of games." The third convict was sitting quietly aside, grinning to himself. The other 2 took notice and asked, "Why are you so smug? What did you bring?" The guy pulled out a box of tampons and smiled. He said, "I brought these." The other 2 were puzzled and asked, "What can you do with those?" He grinned and pointed to the box and said, "Well, according to the box, I could go horseback riding, swimming, roller skating." 2 friends decided to try fishing for the very first time. Neither of them had ever been fishing before, but after sitting by the lake for hours, they still hadn't caught a single fish. One of them sighed and said, "I don't get it. Everyone says this lake is full of fish. Why haven't we caught anything?" The other scratched his head. "I've been wondering the same thing." They both looked down at the water for a moment. Finally, the second friend shrugged and said, "I think I figured it out." "What?" "We probably should have taken hooks out of the tackle box before we started throwing the fishing rods." A tourist was visiting a big city for the first time and wanted to see the famous science museum. After wandering around for nearly an hour, she spotted a traffic officer. "Excuse me," she asked. "How do I get to the science museum?" The officer smiled. "Easy. Stand here and catch the number 20 bus. It'll stop right outside the entrance." She thanked him, and the officer continued on his patrol. A couple of hours later, he happened to pass the same bus stop. To his surprise, the tourist was still standing there. He walked over and asked, "You're still here? I told you to take the number 20 bus." She smiled confidently. "I know. Then why haven't you gone?" She pointed down the road and said, "Because I've only seen 19 of them so far. The next one should be number 20. Two old farmers were sitting on a fence after a long day in the fields, watching the sun go down. One of them noticed his friend looked unusually quiet. "Tough day?" he asked. The other let out a long sigh. "You could say that. The tractor broke down, the crops aren't doing well, the bank keeps calling, and my son says he wants to move to the city." His friend nodded sympathetically. "That's a lot to deal with." The farmer rubbed his face. "Honestly, I don't know how much more bad luck I can take." His friend gave him a reassuring pat on the shoulder and smiled. "Cheer up. At least you haven't lost the plot yet." A little lizard was walking through the forest one afternoon, heading to visit his good friend, the monkey. As he passed under a tall tree, the monkey looked down from a branch and called out, "Hey, little buddy, come up here. I've got some great pot." The little lizard smiled and quickly climbed up the tree. The two friends sat together on a branch, relaxing and sharing a great big joint. After a while, the little lizard leaned back and said, "Wow, this stuff is great, but I got horrible cottonmouth." The monkey pointed through the trees. "No problem. There's a river just down there." So the little lizard climbed down the tree, walked through the brush, and reached the river. He bent down and started drinking water. Suddenly, a crocodile came up out of the water. "Hey, little buddy," said the crocodile. "What's up?" The little lizard replied, "I just got stoned with my pal the monkey." "Really?" said the crocodile. "Where is he? I want some." "He's through the brush and up that tree," said the lizard. So the crocodile crawled through the brush and went over to the tree. The monkey looked down, saw the crocodile, and shouted, "Holy shit! How much did you drink, little buddy?" A man bought a new car. The next day, he is driving his car to the office. On the way, he was waiting for the signal. Suddenly, he opened the door and got down. Then he went to the traffic police and asked him, "How much should I pay to turn right?" The policeman was astonished and asked, "Why are you asking like this?" Then man showed him the signboard that was in the corner of the road. "Free left turn."